Hey guys, this is the AoStation, and your host is Tom today. And on today's episode, we have two of our co-hosts, one being 7-Bit Brian. Hey 7-Bit Brian, how you doing?
I'm doing all right. How you doing?
Man, considering this is our second take, I'm doing pretty good. As you guys can see, I have a couch, which isn't actually a couch. It's actually a seat out of a Dodge Caravan, but hey, whatever. We're pretty
That's
ghetto here.
amazing.
We're
That's
pretty...
amazing.
we're
It's not ghetto. That's amazing. That's like, I don't know, chic.
deal with it. But And then our second guest host is actually Sweelias, who is one of our frequent viewers. Sweelias, how you doing?
Hey, yellow ball.
And
I'm fine.
awesome, good to hear. And one of our other viewers is in chat room right now, and he's actually the guy that paid the $60 to get us the premium license for XSplit, which I have to give him the biggest shout-outs. I'm really kind of humbled by all this. I might not have that many viewers, but the viewers I do have are amazing. So I got to give you guys props. Thank you so much. But let's get on with the show. No more kissing ass. Let's get straight into it. Um, First, we're going to do news. So right now we got the Dota 2 news. There really isn't that much to talk about. Just because of the whole idea of what Dota 2 is. What they're doing with Dota 2 right now is simply taking all the things from Dota 1 and putting them into a new engine. So when something new comes out, there really isn't that much to talk about because it's old content. But they recently released the Lone Druid into Dota 2, he's a staple hero in Dota 1 as well as in Heroes of Newerth. You might know him as Wild Soul in Heroes of Newerth. But that's really all they did with the Dota 2 patch that came up. They added a couple things. Obviously, they're bug fixing, but those aren't really noteworthy for the show. And one of the actual criticisms I got for the show was to not, talk about each individual patch note. Not to talk about each little bug fix and all of that, just to summarize it in general. So to keep true to that, we're not going to go over any more Dota 2 news because there isn't really that much to talk about. So we're going to go over to Heroes of Newerth. And in the same vein, there isn't really that much to talk about because the Heroes of Newerth patch notes that came out recently was all an April Fool's joke. So we can't really talk about that it's not really relevant to what we're talking about. So,
This is always relevant.
well, for instance, some of the things they did was like they made the bound eye disappear in 5 minutes, which, it's kind of silly. It's all silly. It's really funny if you like Heroes of Newerth and you understand some of the memes that are in the Heroes of Newerth community. You'll understand what's going on with the patch notes. They were kind of funny. It was an April Fool's joke. So if you want to see those, you can see to the website. We'll link them in the description. But for now, we'll just go over the new hero named Blitz. He's an interesting hero because his actual abilities are really cool and really interesting, and they all work well together. But his aesthetics are just so bizarre. He's literally a cyborg German cat with bolas that runs at like lightning speed. I don't really understand it. But Sweelias, have you seen Blitz yet?
No, I haven't played Hon in quite a while.
Oh, okay. Well, I played against him. Actually, I played with him. I don't remember. Screw it. But I played in a game with him, and he was really kind of dominant. Luckily, I'm pretty low MMR, so it doesn't actually show anything to do with balance. But let's go over through his abilities right now real quick. His first ability is Blitzkrieg, and what it does is it blasts a target with magic damage and stuns them for a short amount of time. But it deals bonus damage based on the difference between your movement speed and the target's movement speed. So the faster you are, it'll do more damage, and the slower they are, it'll deal more damage. And that synergizes with all of his abilities, obviously, as well as other abilities in the game already. Pretty much anything that slows the target and anything that buffs your movement speed will synergize with this ability. The second ability is Pilfering, I believe. And what that does is it links a target enemy to you, which deals an additional magic damage and reduces their movement speed and increases your own. It's pretty much a movement speed leech with a leash range. And and it deals damage over time, and it increases and debuffs. It increases your movement speed and debuffs their movement speed over time, gradually. But if they run out of the leash range, it breaks. Obviously, this synergizes with this first skill. You toss it on the target. It increases your movement speed, and it decreases theirs, dealing more damage with Blitzkrieg. Now, his third ability is Quicken, And what that does is it surges an ally with adrenaline, granting them nimble movement for a short amount of time. Literally what it does is it doubles their movement speed for a short amount of time, up to about 4.75 seconds, which is almost 5 seconds. And that's actually very reminiscent of Darkseer's ability from Dota. I forget what it was called, but it literally just increased the target's movement speed a lot. It's very similar to this, but it works very good in this case because he's all about movement speed. He's all about increasing his movement speed and decreasing his enemy's movement speed and dealing bonus damage based on that. And his ultimate ability is Lightning Shackles. Basically, he deals AoE damage around an enemy, which deals damage and slows everybody in the area. It's pretty simple, but once again, it works with all his other abilities. I mean, it's not very interesting for an ultimate, but it's just one of those things that really it solidifies him and his playstyle. He's all about movement. He's all about slowing. He's all about dancing around your targets, and I think that's pretty interesting, especially in Heroes of Newerth, because Heroes of Newerth is all about having. That's one of the things that was different with Heroes of Newerth and Dota, was that Heroes of Newerth was just in general faster than Defense of the Ancients in Warcraft 3. So having a character all about movement seems pretty appropriate, especially when my voice cracks. So on that note, we're going over to the League of Legends news, which sadly there isn't that much to talk about. They recently came out with a new hero, Lulu, but we already talked about her in the last episode. So all we're going to have to talk about today, news-wise, is the fact that they did an April Fool's joke with Earth Day and the Fisherman Fizz, which is a new alt avatar for Fizz. You become kind of like Captain Ahab, and you summon Earth as your ultimate. I think it looks kind of cute. It's interesting. I don't buy skins in League of Legends, so I can't really say. What do you guys think about this new skin in League of Legends?
Amazing.
What was that? Sorry, your mic is all messed up, dude.
Sorry. It's amazing. Awesome.
You sound like a robot.
That's strange.
What's wrong with that?
I don't know. Okay, well,
Racist.
I guess. Well,
He sounds better to
yeah,
me. Like, he sounds good now.
you sound good now, but for a minute there, you sounded like a weird robot.
Look, he heard cyborg German cat, and he just transformed.
He must have. He must have. He's like, I must be like my Jarl. I must be like my Jarl told me. But racism aside,
Racist.
can you guys really not hear that? I hear crazy static robot. No? Okay. Well, either way, let's go over to the next point on our news list, which is Super Monday Night Combat. If you guys are familiar, Monday Night Combat was a game for Steam, which was very similar to Team Fortress 2, but also similar to Dota in a lot of respects. And it didn't necessarily flop, but it wasn't as popular as it really wanted to be. I loved the game personally, but I really wanted it to shine. And luckily, they're making a sequel called Super Monday Night Combat, which is going to be a free-to-play game based on the original. So I'm glad that they're taking a free-to-play model instead of the pay-to-play model, because that was most of the reason why it didn't pick up, in my opinion, because it was a really easily approachable game, but just simply the fact that TF2 was free at the time, and it still is, and they're so similar, why pay for a game that, might be subpar to the game that you already have for free? I think that was what a lot of people were thinking. But luckily, Super Monday Night Combat is coming out. You can sign up for the beta right here. Go to their website at uberant.com. Sign up for the Super Monday Night Combat beta, and that'll be out soon. As news comes in, we will post it on our website at www.aostation.com. That's where we do most of our stuff. We link videos, we talk about things, we write articles, and by we, I mean me. But maybe sometime we will have additional writers. On that note, we're going to go over to Bloodline Champions, because they actually had some patch notes, which is surprising to me, because Bloodline Champions really doesn't abide by any strict patch note schedule like League of Legends and Heroes of Newerth and Dota 2 do. They always create something bi-weekly. They create a hero bi-weekly, and I believe Dota just releases a new hero every week. Dota 2, that is. But Bloodline Champions is a lot more flexible when it comes to their release schedule. They release something when it's done, when they want to, and I think that's a lot more appropriate for the kind of games that we play. That's an entire new rant that I don't really want to go in right now. Let's just go over the patch notes specifically. Once again, we're not going to be going over everything in fine detail because that was one of the critiques that people have been giving me, as to not go over everything in super fine detail. So let's just go over some of the little smaller balance fixes in the patch. And really the only things that I could really I found that were interesting were the Harbinger and the Gunner. What they did with the Harbinger is they reduced the healing that he gets from attacking with his main ability when the target is hemorrhaged. Basically, what the Harbinger does is he hemorrhages people and then can heal because of that. When he hits them, he heals. And they reduced that from 45% to 35%, which is just to nerf his overall survivability in combat, which is one of the things that I didn't really like about the Harbinger, because he was a melee DPS that was also incredibly tanky and really mobile. So tuning down that healing capability was definitely what was needed. And what they also did was they nerfed his Shadow Bolt while also making it more reliable. They made it deal less damage overall, but they made it deal more minimum damage, because every time you deal damage, it's well, I guess in this, I don't know if it's every time. I don't know if every ability has a static amount of damage that it deals, or whether this ability is unique in that it has a range of damage it can deal. But it can deal a minimum of 280 and a maximum of 360. So the maximum damage is lowered, but the minimum damage is raised, meaning that you will deal more reliable damage, but you'll be dealing less damage overall. Actually, you'll be dealing about the same damage overall, but you'll be dealing less damage topside. You won't be hitting very high as much. And the second thing I wanted to point out was the Gunner is getting nerfed. They actually nerfing her execute ability, which is one of the Gunner's main abilities. It's her secondary mouse 2 button, which is what it does is she holds it down for a small amount of time, charges her gun up, and then executes a target. Well, actually, it's a line shot, like everything in BLC is, but it just deals an incredibly high amount of damage, and it pierces targets, dealing less damage for every target that it hits. Oh, Crime, the minivan seat. I got that out a couple days ago to play games with Noah on my Xbox, or my friend's Xbox, excuse me. And I decided to be a good little set piece. You know how it is. But what they did, sorry, Crime, you got me all taken off course. What they did with the execute ability was they reduced this damage by 10 points, and they reduced the damage they increased the reduction that it gets hitting multiple targets. And what I think about this is I don't really think it's necessary, because the Gunner's the things that make the Gunner really annoying, and I don't want to say OP, but really annoying for sure, is that she has so much CC and so much mobility for a high DPS champion. So I don't necessarily think lowering her DPS is going to help with that, because she's still going to be as mobile and as annoying with her CC as she already was. All this does is that it means that Gunner players are going to have to rely on those two things even more now that their damage from their main ability execute is reduced. And once again, it's not that big of a deal. It's only 10 points of damage, but it is a nerf, and I want to see how this ends up affecting the character overall. And obviously, I don't go over everything, but if you guys want to check out these patch notes in finer detail, you can check them out in the description once this is uploaded to YouTube. I will have everything linked down there. You can also check out AoStation.com, where we post all these patch notes when they come up. Now, this is going to be a new section of the show. It's not new, but we released it last episode, but we're going to be continuing this part of the show. It's called the Bloodline Champions Spotlight, in which we go over one champion in Bloodline Champions and talk about all their abilities and how they're used, how they're supposed to be used, what role they play, and tips and tricks for that champion in particular. And today's episode, we're going to be focusing on the Vanguard, which just so happens to be the class that I play most. What I like so much about the Vanguard is that he's a tank, but he isn't like an innate tank. Yes, it is bias. I apologize. He isn't just an innate tank. He doesn't just have more health than everybody else. He can't just stand there and take hits. You have to actively be tanking, and I really do like that about BLC. Some of the ways that he tanks is that he negates people's abilities to deal damage. He weakens targets, which reduces their overall damage dealt. He has a really good reflect ability, which I believe it blocks damage. No, it stuns people that attacks you, and reflects ranged abilities. And he has a really good heal in his EX taunt, or is it his EX taunt? No, it's his EX reflect. What else? He has a lot of mobility for a tank hero. He's just all around really versatile in his playstyle. If you want a really tanky champion that also deals a lot of damage and is also really mobile, you should play the Vanguard. And he also has one of the only taunts in the game, I believe. It doesn't work like normal taunts would. It doesn't force the target to attack you. All it does is it forces the target to run to you. And it is an aim shot. You don't just click on the target and he runs to you. You have to aim it, and if it hits, they will run to you, and you get a buff that increases your overall damage. So let's break down his abilities real quick for you guys. His first ability, his mouse one click, is War Strike, which obviously, like all the base abilities, deals more damage the more you do it on consecutive hits. And it also consumes Rage, which you get from casting Taunt, to deal bonus damage and knocking back the target. His second ability is arguably one of his best abilities. It's War Axe, and it's his ranged ability. He throws his axe, it hits the target, slows them, and dismantles them, which means that they can't use their mouse 1 and their mouse 2 abilities, which is fucking essential. I must say, a lot of players don't even know that they're dismantled, and they'll keep clicking their mouse 1 and their mouse 2 buttons. It's almost a silence. It's effectively a silence in a lot of cases, especially if you're playing against newbie players, because they won't know what to do. All this means is they won't really have much of an offense, because they'll have their mouse 1 and their mouse 2 buttons disabled, so they'll have to either use their other abilities to run away or in some way disable you until that debuff is over. His third ability is kind of the basic leap. He just leaps to the area and he slows targets around him, dealing damage. His third ability is Shield Slam, where he dashes forward, dealing damage and hitting people and demoralizing them, which reduces the damage they deal and the healing that they do by 50%. It's just a basic, it's his way of tanking through making people deal less damage. But it can also be used offensively because it does reduce the damage that they deal. What else? There is an EX version of this move called Intercept, which it causes him to charge at a high speed towards the target location, dealing damage, and grabbing an enemy and pulling them with you, while also additionally stacking one stack of Rage on yourself, meaning that your base ability will deal more damage. And then he has his Taunt ability, which we already went over, and his Reflect ability, which we already went over. I must also note that his EX Reflect, called Battle Shout, is really effective because it heals you and all nearby allies for 240 health. And that's a pretty fair amount. It also slows the movement speed of nearby enemies. Now his ultimate ability is Heroic Charge, where he literally just, it takes him a little bit, but then he charges at a target, at an area, deals damage, and deals damage near the target that he hits, and also stuns the target that he hits. It's basically a really good finisher, as well as a way to get back to targets. For example, if someone's kiting you around and you have a low health target somewhere else, you can use your Heroic Charge to get out of that situation and tag the low health target that's across the field. It's a really good ability. It's really versatile. Although I end up using Battle Shout more than I end up using Heroic Charge, just in general, because I find that the 240 health heal, which is also an AoE, is really effective. As for that, he's basically a tank. He's also really good at dealing damage. I've been the tanking role while also being the highest DPS in my group. It's totally possible, and that's what I like about BLC so much, is that not every hero specifically fills a certain role. They can fill a lot of different roles while focusing on one. So I am a tank primarily, but that doesn't mean I can't deal damage, and that doesn't mean I can't heal, for instance. It's a very Guild Wars 2 approach. But that's it for the Bloodline Champion Spotlight. And that's it for the news for today. But chat room, I see we have a couple people in chat. Do you have any questions for the show? If you do, leave them in chat. We will answer them with our two guest hosts and myself. Excuse me. 7-Bit, what have you been doing lately in the AOS front?
In the AOS front, I've been playing the game you hate with a passion, League of Legends.
Oh, come on. I don't hate League of Legends.
Oh, come on. Yes, you do.
No.
We were playing today, me and some other people in the chat room, and we're like, hey, Panda, you're on, come play LOL. And you're like, no.
Deal with
it. Dude, we needed one more person, and we would have had a full group of 5, but no, we had to play with some random. Didn't matter, we won anyways, both games, but still.
Well, I mean, I have starting to do. I have things that I have to do, man. I can't just play League of Legends all
Real
day.
men don't study.
Well, apparently I'm not a real man. I'm the one wearing sunglasses at night, okay?
Okay.
So,
Yeah. Okay.
but
Well,
Sweelias, how about you? What have you been playing? I know you're in the Dota 2 beta.
Of course. Yeah. And yeah, Dota, LOL, and Gotham City Impostors, mostly.
Okay, cool. Are any of you guys excited about Super Monday Night Combat? Have any of you played Monday Night Combat?
yes, I've played Monday Night Combat. It's been a long time, but I am very excited about Super Monday Night Combat. I've already signed up for the beta.
It's been a long time. Sorry, go on. Sweelias, are you excited
I
about?
hate you.
Are you excited about Super Monday Night Combat?
I don't know.
Ah,
No idea.
okay. Well,
Haven't actually seen it. I've seen it quite a while ago. Something I don't really remember, but seems cool.
okay, okay. Well, we do actually have a question from the chat room coming from one of our other greatest viewers. I have like 3 amazing viewers, and that'll be Crime Endorsement. His question is, BLC ... Who is the best noob champion to begin with? And that's actually a good question considering we have a BLC player in the chat room, as well as myself, and 7-Bit has played it. Sweelias, have you played Bloodline Champions?
Yeah.
Okay. So the question is, who is the best champion to pick up when you're new to the game? And I will bring up a picture of Bloodline Champions. 7-Bit, what would you answer with that? Who would you say?
I'd say there's not really a best because it really depends on your playstyle. If you're a like person that's you're pure DPS, you're used to playing carries, and you go in and play a someone who's in BLC that's all about heals or tanking, you're not gonna do that good. I mean, you might do better, but I'd say the best thing to start off with, just to learn the game better, since it is all skill shot. It's not like League of Legends and other games. It's all skill shot. I'd say go with a damage dealer first, just because it's the easier role to play, and you're going to learn how to move around the map and control and use your abilities.
Okay. How about you, Sweelias? How would you answer that question?
I think that the best champion to begin with, who's the easiest and most noob champ, would be the Vanguard.
The Vanguard.
No, just kidding. But the Ravenel, she is quite easy. The one with the
yes.
clubs.
Yes, the Ravener. Yep.
Yeah.
Okay.
She's got good crowd control, reflect projectiles, and quite good shield too.
I agree. I agree with both of those. We actually have someone in chat who plays here Bloodline Champions. Excuse me, Ragugo. Actually, he suggests that you should play the Glutton. He says though he's easy, you might be beaten up easily. But I think that's pretty much universal. If you suck, you're probably gonna get beaten up in Bloodline Champions. There really isn't like an easy way to go. But I do agree. I agree with all those answers. Those all sound pretty good. The Glutton is one of those tanky champions that can heal himself and also deals a lot of good damage. What was it? You said the Vanguard. I agree with the Vanguard because he's so versatile. He can do so many different things. And I do believe that the Ravener is also very good because she has probably the best damage output out of all of them, but she's also very mobile. She can jump all around, and she can do that spin to reflect projectiles, and she has a reliable stun, a fairly reliable stun. So if you're really looking for someone to play that, and you're new to the game, I would suggest one of those 3. Although I do agree with Brian, it really is up to how you play the game, how you want to play the game. You might want to start with a ranged DPS simply because, in a lot of cases people will forget about you and you could just kind of hide. But you really need to learn the fundamentals of the game. You should go into practice mode before you start doing matchmaking. Just learn how the game works, how the controls work, how to aim everything. Because everything's really unique in Bloodline Champions, and that's one of the main hurdles that you have to get over. But once you get over that hurdle, it's really not that hard to play. It's really hard to master, but it's not very hard to get into. Is there another question from Crime Endorsement? Is there one champion to specifically stay away from? I'll pass that to you, Brian. Do you know of any champion that you would specifically suggest someone not play as a newbie?
Not really, because I mean, you were there when I first jumped into the game for the first time ever. We played 2 matches and won both of them, even though I didn't do great. I did do okay, and after that, I've been playing. I just keep trying different champions, and there's not really one that seems like you should stay away from it. I mean, I'd say try them all just so you could learn who you're going up against when you do find that champion that you prefer to play.
Sweelias, how about you?
I think if you're new and don't really know the mechanics of the game, you probably should stay away from, what's the name? The Stalker.
Say that again?
I think it's the Stalker. Stalker. Yeah. The one to the right of...
the Stalker, yes. Yes.
Yeah. Yes. Because if you don't really know how to do, you just go invisible and try to stab people, and yeah, they kill you.
Yeah, she's a very mobile, like, evasive hero. I could definitely see where you're coming from.
Yeah.
And in chat, Ragugo, he suggests that maybe you shouldn't be playing the Astronomer, specifically because the game is balanced around 3v3, and the Astronomer is a little underpowered at the moment, he says. I can agree with that, actually. I used to have trouble fighting the Astronomer, but once you find out that he's primarily a melee healer, which is weird, his main attack is actually a melee attack. Once you get around that and notice that his main way to deal damage to you is through melee, you can take advantage of that and really, screw him up in a 3v3 scenario. He is an okay healer, but once you get out of that AoE disable, he doesn't have that much to actually get away from you with. So that's actually a good suggestion from Ragugo. But my personal suggestion to stay away from would be the Herald of Insight. I don't know if you guys agree with me or not, but when I started playing, I looked at this guy and I said, wow, look at this. It's a hippie floating on a boat with an oar that looks amazing. I want to play him, and I picked him up, and I just didn't know what the hell to do with him. I still don't really know what the hell to do with him, man. He's got this basic heal, which pretty easy to understand. He's got his basic damage nuke, but his other abilities are kind of weird. He creates like cones, big like areas. He denies areas, reducing the movement speed of projectiles going through them. He can cast fear. He's just not a very like straightforward champion, and that's what I had so much trouble with. Especially his ultimate. His ultimate is very bizarre. But instead of picking the Herald of Insight, I might, suggest you pick up like the Psychopomp or the Alchemist, something more straightforward when it comes to healing. But I agree with all you guys. Those are all pretty good examples and good reasoning behind it. And if that's the only two questions we have for the show, that's pretty much it for us, guys. I'd really have to give a big shout-outs to the chat room. I got to give a big shout-outs to Ragugu and Crime and Quasar and everybody that showed up for tonight's episode. Thank you so much for showing up. I got to give a double shout-out to 7-Bit Brian and Sweelias for having us, for letting me have you on the show. Thank you so much for showing up, guys.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you.
And I want to show you right here. This is our website, AoStation.com. You can go here and we post relevant content, relevant videos. As you can see here, we talk about the news. We write articles. We keep you up to date with what's going on in the AOS genre. And that's pretty much what we do. We also do this weekly show here at www.twitch.tv/theaosstation. We're doing more streaming lately. We're actually going to have an in-house of either Heroes of Newerth or Bloodline Champions on Thursday or Friday. You can find that on my Twitter at Panamanana. There is no .com, excuse me. You can follow the AOS Station at the AOS Station on Twitter. You can also follow me on Facebook at Panamanana. You can find our YouTube page at www.youtube.com/user/the AOS Station. And I think that's it. 7-Bit, where can we find you?
You can find me on Twitter at 7-Bit Brian.
What about your website? I heard you had a website coming up.
I have a website that I am currently building. It's coming along very nicely. We have everything up. There's some placeholder graphics in place, but the actual build of the website is live. So I just have to get everything else fixed, move a little bit around, make some tweaks, and then I'm going to have some content up there every Monday through Friday. And that website, if you want to check it out now, keep in mind it's not done, so there's nothing really going to be posted except updates here and there. But for now, you can check it out at 7bitworld.com.
Yeah, annotations are awesome. Okay, well, how about you, Sweelias? Where can we find you?
In my house. Probably.
Okay, and do you live in Whiterun? Are you in fact the Jarl of Whiterun?
That is confidential.
Ah. Oh, okay.
Are you the Dragonborn?
Basroda! Okay, well,
He's home to us.
do you have a Twitter account that people could follow you at?
Yeah. I can't bring up Twitter now, so I don't really know. But I think it's at CourierDC.
Yeah, it's at Courier DC. Actually, could you actually explain why you chose that name? I was curious.
CourierDC and NV.
I don't know what you mean.
You mean? Well, excuse me. I choose the Courier name because my favorite game, Fallout New Vegas.
Mm-hmm.
You're a Courier
Oh, yes.
in New Vegas. So, yeah. And DC is in Fallout 3, you're in Washington, DC, so, yeah. That's why.
Okay, cool. Hey, well, you can follow him at...
I'm now following him.
You can follow him at Courier DC. And you already know where to follow me, guys. What else? What else could we say? Yeah, not really much else to say, guys. Come check us out. We do this show every Monday at 10 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Except, sorry, I take that back. We're changing the time of this show. We're changing the time. We're changing the time. We're changing the time of the show to 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, which means that would be 4 p.m. Pacific Standard Time, as well as 1 in the morning where you live, Sweelias, correct?
Yeah, more or less.
Ah, okay. Good, because we want to get, apparently I have European viewers, so I really want to make something that's easy for everybody to get into, something that isn't so outrageous. Because right now it's 4 a.m. where you live, correct?
What? I dozed off for a second.
Yeah.
What did you say?
It's ridiculous. So I'm changing the time a little bit to make it easier for our European viewers. Unfortunately, that means that our West Coast viewers, our Californian viewers, might have some trouble. They might still be at work, but I do my best. But
That's what YouTube is for.
that's exactly. You can go check our videos out on YouTube. But that's pretty much it, guys. I appreciate you all coming along. I appreciate everybody in chat. Once again, shout outs to Regogu for giving us the donation that lets us keep going. I really am mind blown and humbled by that completely. I'm just glad all you guys came to show up. I appreciate everything, and that's pretty much it. I will see you guys next week at the new time. AoStation
Brownies.
signing out.
Or
Brownies.
13th